They took our air first, not by choking us, but by taxing it. Meters hung on vents, drones tallying every breath as if life could be itemized. Marek Lorne learned to hold his breath and his anger for exactly as long as it took to weld a seam shut in the dark. The Azalith called it an obedience levy. Every habitat on Rook Spire, shaft town stapled to a needle of rock, paid in oxygen credits, skimmed by silver insects that clung to ducts and sang in the pitch of machinery. When the balance fell behind, the drones shifted tone, and the lights dimmed until you felt smaller just listening. Marek worked night shift in the recycle bays where old scrubbers went to be parted out and reborn. He kept his hands busy and his head down until he noticed a pattern. The drones didn't just count, they corrected. Each one carried a throat, a ceramic cavity that matched the ducts. They drank the building's voice and gave it back with a bias. He brought it to Darrow, the foreman with a scar like an equation down his cheek. "They're bending our airflow to fit their math," Marek said. "We set the scrubbers to 97%, and they tune the readout to 95. We pay the difference." Darrow angled a lamp across the nearest drone. "You sure?" Marek pulled the ceramic throat free with a spiral wrench and set it humming on the bench. The tone found the duct, and a shadow of wind shifted across their faces. "That's theft," Darrow said. "It's worse," Marek replied. "It's a story where we're always in debt." He started keeping time with the machines, not clocks, resonances. Every pipe sang when heat moved and pressure changed. The Azalith hadn't bothered to listen to the native notes of a habitat built by men who learned patience in mines. In the bays below the main shaft, Marek tuned a dead scrubber's fan to the duct frequency and fed it a feedback line from the drone throats he'd collected. The slab floor buzzed through his boots. On a scope, the signal made a knot like a fishhook, energy sliding back where it came from. "What's the plan?" Darrow asked, arms crossed. "We give their math an ulcer," Marek said. "Make the drones chase a false baseline until their overseer believes we're current and cuts the levy to zero. That buys time. It buys control." They tested on an empty dorm block slated for demolition, patching hoses with tape and prayer. When Marek brought the fan up to speed, the drone's song climbed to meet it. Readouts corrected, then corrected again, the way a liar adds detail until the story collapses under the weight. "Kill it," Darrow said when the fire alarm hardware clicked as if thinking about waking. Marek cut power, and the bay exhaled. He knew they couldn't ride a false balance forever. The Azalith would reconcile at the hub and send someone real. He counted on it. The Azalith envoy came on a glass platform that lowered into a plaza chipped from the rock. An Azalith stood within, a tall figure, armored in facets, head like a blade held upright. 4 escorts drifted around the perimeter like politely bored ghosts. "Accountant Marek Lorne," the envoy said. "Your oxygen dues are anomalously efficient." "I fixed leaks," Marek said. "You introduced variance. Variance is obedience by arithmetic. Then charge me for being clever." The envoy inclined its blade head. "We do." It gestured toward the hub. "Your habitat will be rebalanced." He waited until the escorts fanned to the vents like physicians approaching a patient with interesting lungs. Darrow stood 3 paces back, hands on a dolly stacked with old fan housings. Inside each housing, Marek had mounted a tuned washer and a coil, poor man's speakers married to the bones of scrappers. "You want the truth?" Marek asked. "You priced our breaths wrong." The envoy's escorts touched the ducts. Their drone swarms woke. silver lint turning into intent. In the same heartbeat, the dolly fans spun. The plaza went harmonic. You don't hear a good alignment with your ears. You feel it in your molars, in your chest, in the part of you that knows an earthquake a second early. The ductwork became a throat that did not belong to the azalith anymore. It belonged to the men who built it. Drones froze in mid-flight, their ceramic cavities catching the wrong song. Indicators on the Envoy's gauntlet flickered from compliance green to data gray. "This is assault," it said. "This is audit," Marek answered. The tuned feedback ran backwards through the ducts into the hub counter where balances lived. When a machine cannot decide if a number is a 7 or a 1 for long enough, it chooses 0. Credits rolled toward the colony like a tide running uphill. Lights brightened. The plaza took a deeper breath and remembered what open lungs felt like. "That is not permitted," the Envoy said, voice thinner now. "I know," Marek said, "but now your sheet says we're paid for the year." A beat of silence stretched between them, long enough for the men watching from the catwalks to lean forward as if listening could help. The Envoy lifted a hand, and the escorts spread their fingers. Heat licked the plaza, as if someone opened a furnace door. The azalith were done correcting. They meant to cauterize. Marek had one more note. He kicked the dolly, and the top fan assembly toppled, its coil skidding to kiss the grated floor. The pitch jumped a full tone and found the harmonic that shook the glass platform's mounts. The Envoy swayed, recalculating, then stepped down to the rock with sudden, inelegant haste. "You will be punished," it said, and the translator couldn't hide the shake. "Maybe," Marek said, "but you'll need our air to do it. And for a while, that belongs to us."